check out my friend Lee's boxing channel.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in and checking out my latest video. Now, this week's video is going to be talking about the great upcoming matchup between Terence Crawford versus Viktor Postol. Cannot wait for this fight. Such a tough fight to pick. I've changed my mind a few times on who I was picking for this fight. Ultimately, I just can't wait to see this fight go down. Now, let's first start out with Viktor Postol and what he brings to the table in this matchup. When you look at Viktor Postol as a fighter, he's a tall, lengthy fighter. He's a guy who, stylistically, he reminds me of a smaller version, a bit of Vladimir Klitschko, the way he likes to throw that jab and right hand. The right hand is his power punch, along with he has a good left hook to the body when he uses it. He picks his spots very well. Also, when you look at Postol as a fighter, this is a guy who not only does he do all that, he also is very defensively sound fighter. He just sticks to what he knows best. He loves fighting on the outside, and he's got that extensive Ukraine amateur background. You can see the dominance of some of those fighters. The coaching over there is second to none. So just a very well-schooled fighter. Training with Freddie Roach, so he's improving his game as well. And he looked outstanding against Lucas Matisse, a very dangerous puncher, who a lot of people thought Lucas Matisse was going to win that fight, even though Matisse had the eye issue. He's been in a lot of wars. But nonetheless, extremely impressive performance for Viktor Postol, who ultimately stopped Lucas Matisse in that fight. And really, a lot of people took notice of him after that fight. Now, when we look at Terence Crawford is a guy who has good footwork. He's got head movement. He's got a variety of punches that he likes to use. He's got good feints. Also, Terence Crawford's got a good jab. Extremely good at adapting when a fight goes along. He's very dangerous. Crawford just does everything very well. He's a guy also who can switch stances. Gives you a lot of versatility, Terence Crawford as a fighter. Very, very intelligent guy, and he does so many things well. He's an all-around boxer, really. That's a definition. And if you look at all-around boxer, it would be Terence Crawford, in my opinion. So he's been outstanding so far throughout his career. Dominant victories over such fighters as Ray Beltran. He also destroyed Yuriorkis Gamboa. And a lot of people didn't give him credit for that fight, because if you go back to when that fight actually occurred, yes, Terence Crawford is much bigger than Gamboa, but a lot of people were picking Gamboa due to his speed, his Cuban amateur pedigree. So Crawford really didn't get a lot of credit for that Gamboa fight after the fact, but before the fight, a lot of people actually were picking Gamboa to beat Crawford. Also, Crawford recently dominated Hank Lundy. We all knew that was going to happen. So this is a good fight, because a lot of people are complaining about some of the competition that Crawford has faced. Now, fighting a guy like Viktor Postol, this guy's an absolute killer. So this is going to be a highly entertaining fight. Now, when I look at some keys for this fight, Viktor Postol is going to want to keep this fight on the outside. Ultimately, I feel one of the advantages he has in this fight is his range and his reach is definitely something that he has an advantage over Terence Crawford, I believe, in this fight. Also, he's less of a risk taker. Now, that could be a good or bad thing, depending on how you look at it. I also think that Viktor Postol has beaten the best fighter out of both of their resumes. Lucas Matisse, I feel, is better than any fighter Terence Crawford has defeated, in my opinion. Also, he's got the more experienced corner, and Freddie Roach is another thing to look out for in this fight. Now, when you look at Terence Crawford in this matchup, ultimately what I think is going to be Terence Crawford's biggest strength in this fight is Terence Crawford is a slow starter. Now, that could go against him in this fight, but ultimately I don't think it will, because that's his biggest weakness. But Postol, if you watch his fights, actually doesn't really start that quick as well either. So once Crawford starts feeling you out for the first 2-3 rounds, he's extremely dangerous late in the fight. And Crawford, in my opinion, has the advantages in this fight in versatility, foot speed, hand speed, and as well as punch variety. So also, his switching stances are going to give Viktor Postol different looks. Now, ultimately, when I look at this fight, I think that Terence Crawford is going to start at some point pressuring Viktor Postol in this fight and get him out of his comfort zone. So that's my biggest reason why I'm going to pick Terence Crawford to win a decision in this fight. It's going to be a close decision. I think like a 115, 113 type of fight. Um, I believe that Crawford just has too many more skills he brings to the table, I would say, more weapons at his disposal than a guy like Viktor Postol does. Now, in saying that, there's times where Terence Crawford in fights gets hit far too much, in my opinion, because he likes to fight with emotion. He's an aggressive guy at times, and that pressure, he can walk you down and he can counter punch. So he can change up his style, Terence Crawford can. The only issue is that with a guy like Viktor Postol, he's so good at staying calm and composed that he could potentially counterpunch Terence Crawford at some point in this fight. And I see Crawford maybe getting over aggressive at some point, going back in a straight line and getting hurt with a counter, but being able to survive. I look at it the tale of two fights. I think that Postol might have some good success early on in this fight, and then I think Crawford is going to take over later in the fight. And I just think Crawford's versatility, his movement, his feints, things of that nature are going to make him, basically it's going to lead him to a victory in this matchup. And I think that Crawford's tools, his skills, are going to be a little too much for Viktor Postol, who is an outstanding fighter. But this is a type of fight, really, where it's a win-win for the fans, because either one of these guys lose. I don't want to hear negative comments about these guys, like this guy's a bum if he loses this or that, because this is a type of fight that is only going to make both of these guys better. They're going to grow from this fight, whoever wins, whoever loses. And this is just a great fight that I can't believe we actually got. I'm very excited about that, and going to be a highly entertaining fight. Let me know what you guys think on this matchup. Definitely do not sleep on Viktor Postol. Yes, I'm picking Terence Crawford, but I was picking Postol a lot leading up to this fight. Just a highly skilled fighter, extremely composed, and did a number on Lucas Matisse, who I have a ton of respect for. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning into the video. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you very much.